This week, I'm testing the M4 Convertible during winter time. This week, BMW M4 Convertible. The question is, can we drive all year around a convertible? This one, it's a rigid roof. Some people like these models, especially because the roof is hard and you can drive them all year round. But it is true, you can drive a sport car all year round here in Canada. So that's my question today. We're gonna test everything and then we're gonna talk about the M4. So behind me, M4 Convertible, really a nice model from BMW. If we take a look at the design of the front of the M4, we can notice easily it's an M4. You can tell by the black grille, this lower front fascia really low to the ground. You got those carbon fiber touch here in the front, really aggressive. I really like that. I like the carbon fiber finish on these BMWs. It's really nice. If we step on the side of the M4, we can notice some massive brakes from the M division, also massive disc. And one really important thing today, it's the tires. We're running Continental winter tires. This is one of the key components if you want to drive a sport car during winter time. Having really good tires, it's one of the key things. One major thing also you can notice it's different on the M4 is the hood. You've got that dome hood, really gives a muscular look. I really like that design of the hood. It gives some attitude to the M4. On the side here, you've got that little logo M4. You've got those iconic mirrors in carbon fiber, really the M design for these mirrors. I like that. That gives really the M4 look to it. The older M3 models used to have the same shape of mirror of these ones. Again, in the back, even in the back, you've got some massive disc, massive caliper also from the M division. And in the back, finally, you've got the M4 emblem. And you've got a really nice exhaust wrapped in carbon fiber with a rear diffuser in carbon fiber. I really like that look. It's really nice. And the exhaust tone is really good on this M4. Speaking of exhaust note, let me show you the different tones of this exhaust. First of all, you've got the efficient mode. This one is pretty quiet. It's pretty normal. Then you can put it in sport. In sport, it gets a more aggressive tone to the exhaust. And finally, my favorite, the Sport Plus. Now the exhaust gets really aggressive, a really high pitch, and also you get those backfire, those bubbles when you let go the gas and it pops into the exhaust, who makes that fantastic sound of the M4. If we take a look under the hood, we've got an inline 6 3-liter turbo, good for 425 horsepower and 406 foot-pounds of torque. A pretty powerful engine. If we look at the displacement of this engine, I like the setup under the hood, how it looks. I like this really, that carbon fiber arch, I could say. I like that finish. It looks more luxurious, more sport. You know, I dig carbon fiber, so finding that big piece of carbon fiber on the hood. I think it looks great. This engine is matched with a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. You'll see later on my driving impression, this dual clutch is kind of funky, and you have to learn a little bit how to drive it, but it's still a pretty good transmission. All right, speaking of price, the M4 Convertible I'm testing this week is around 120,000 Canadian. It's not cheap, but you know, there's a lot of competitors around the same price. If you're looking to something that was really sporty, good on horsepower, and also convertible, and not a lot of them on the market has got that hard roof like this M4. So that's a big plus for the M4. Speaking of the convertible roof, let me show you how it works. So the M4 Convertible hard roof, it's one of the key features of this car. Let me show you how it works. Simply use this button here, and you're gonna raise up the roof. You can see the roof's got 3 panels. It's pretty cool. It looks like a transformer going on right now. A big plus for the hard roof, you know, soundproof wise when you're on the highway, and all the benefits of the hard roof. It's really the soundproof, you get less noise on the road, and also it's more safe. Specifically, you know, I know down south, when you're in Florida, because I used to live in Florida, the person who used to own or owning a convertible with the soft roof, sometimes you know, they get their roof damaged to you know, people are opening these roofs with knives to steal stuff inside of the cars. It's something we see a lot, you know, especially down south in Florida. So that's another plus, you know, soundproof, safety wise, look wise, a big plus, you know, this car right now. If we take a look at the old car, you know, now it looks like a coupe. You know, it doesn't look like a convertible anymore, and that's a big plus. So you got 2 cars in one. You got a convertible and also a coupe. I think it looks really good. I really prefer the hard roof look when it's closed compared to a soft top. I know these are a little bit, you know, had more weights to the car, but overall it looks better. But you know, the down point of having a hard roof, it's really the trunk. So let's go see the trunk. All right, if we take a look at the trunk, if you can call that a trunk, yeah, that's one of the big down point of having a hard roof. You get really like no trunk. That's the only space you can use in this trunk. And literally, you know, doing any groceries or any small stuff, you know, this week I was just trying to go to the gym, and my gym bag barely fit in that small compartment. So you're really limited cargo wise, especially if you retract the roof. So if you want to go on a road trip with your fiance, your girlfriend, and you want to bring 2 small luggage, it won't fit in the trunk. You have to put it in the back seat. And once again, if you're more than 2 persons in this car, it's not the best. Right behind the wheel of the BMW M4 Cabrio this week. Obviously, it's a winter test for a sport car. Not the ideal condition, but kind of fun at the same time. You know, it's the first time I'm really, you know, testing a sport car during winter time, and also a convertible. So it's a good test, you know, if you guys are looking to buy, you know, a convertible and you want to use it all year round if you stay up north, the US or in Canada. So this week, it's really a sport car winter test. Quick reminder, this car is a rear-wheel drive. It's really a sport car, really low to the ground, a lot of settings, a lot of horsepower under the hood. So it's not all the sport cars are meant to be driven during winter time, but you know, it's not really the case with the M4. You know, if you've got some good condition on the road with really good winter tires, and also, you know, with all the traction, the stability control and all that, I think the M4 works pretty well during winter time, you know, overall. But if you get some snow, I could say, the car is really low to the ground. That front lip is super low. Some entrance, I need to enter those entrance with an angle when you get some incline in some entrance. I'm used to it, you know. I used to drive my Mustang GT, was really modified, really low to the ground. Also, my Mustang had a really long splitter in the front, carbon fiber and all that. So I'm used to, you know, driving low cars. But, you know, in the winter, when you have like a little bit more snow, I could say the M4 is not ideal, but you can use it when it's, you know, there's some good condition outside. If you depend on this car on a daily basis to get to your work, it might not be the ideal. You might, you know, buy something else for the winter time, or having something more daily friendly, I could say. It's a sport car, you know. There's not a room in the trunk, not a lot of room inside. You know, this M4 is really ideal, you know, for, you know, short trip, weekend getaway, travel extremely light. You know, like I said, no, you're not able to really put, you know, probably 2 carry-ons in the trunk, maybe in the back, but that's it. But overall, you know, driving the M4, it's a lot of fun. You know, you've got that great sound from the 3-liter inline turbo. I'll give you a little glimpse of that sound. As you can see, I like the pop and, you know, the rumbles and all the bubbles in the exhaust when you put it in Sport Plus. When you put it in Sport Plus, the car gets really aggressive. It's a blast to drive, and the M4, you know, it's meant to be driven hard, I could say. That's what the transmission like. You know, at lower speed, you know, the transmission, when you switch your gears, it doesn't, or it's not really quick. Higher you go on the RPM, it will be quicker for the shifts. So, you know, this transmission really like to be shift at really high RPM. At lower speed, right now I'm in efficient mode and comfort mode, I could say. It works pretty much just like a normal automatics, but when you put it in Sport Plus and on manual mode, on the first gear, it really, you know, acts just like a manual transmission. It kind of jerks sometimes, and it's kind of annoying, especially for the price tag you pay for this car. It's around 120,000. So transmission wise, it's not the best, I could say. I was expecting a little bit more from BMW, but again, this car, it's at the end of this generation. We can expect probably for 2021 the new generation of 4 Series and M4. So I can't wait to see that. But, you know, overall, power is good. It's not a ton of power. The transmission ratio is kind of weird. It's not really hard on the acceleration. You can feel this car's got some juice for highway use or higher speed, Autobahn style. I really like that. But again, you know, I had better experience with the M340i from my point of view, and also for a price tag. You know, shifting the gears in the M340i was wonderful. The power band also feel great. Also, the M340i was all-wheel drive, obviously for winter condition, and also not only winter condition, our roads here in Quebec, Canada, are pretty terrible. So all-wheel drive, it's always a plus. Handling wise, you know, the M4 is pretty great. You know, it's pretty aggressive. The suspension is pretty hard, even kind of too hard for winter usage, I could say, with all the puddles and all that. But you know, great handling, something you can expect from driving a M model from BMW. Nothing to complain there. You know, the car reacts pretty well. I could say probably the coupe version will be more rigid, you know, with the structure and all that. Obviously, with the retractable roof, you're losing some rigidity into the frame and into the monocoque of the car. So obviously, you're losing those kind of like B pillar of this car, and these really help in, you know, when you really push the car into the curves. But you know, nothing I'm gonna do right now during the winter. But you know, the average Joe, I could say, won't really feel the difference between a coupe and a cabriolet. It's really if you gonna push it on the racetrack, I could say. Otherwise, you know, probably if you're looking to buy a cabriolet, you won't probably do any track time. That's pretty obvious. And what's a big plus of having a cabriolet? So you remove that hard roof and you hear that wonderful sound of that engine and that pop of the exhaust mixed with the sharp shift of the transmission. It's wonderful. You know, when you're able to remove your roof, a T-top convertible, you always get the best sound of the engine and the exhaust. It's really where you're gonna feel your car, feel the wind and all that. It's always those reasons, you know, the true car enthusiast gonna buy those version of those sport cars, I could say. But otherwise, you know, all the M4 compete against the competition. You know, for that price tag, you probably can get more performance if you're looking to some American models like a Corvette or even a muscle car. You're gonna get more power for probably half of the price. But you know, someone who's looking to buy an M4 wants something complete. He wants the convertible, the luxury, the logo in the front. Obviously, it's a big thing. You know, we don't really talk about it, but for some people, you know, they rather have that BMW badge in the front than a Corvette. You know, for some people, a BMW will always gonna look more luxurious, more respected than having like a big muscle car. But you know, if you don't really care about the logo in the front, probably you're gonna spend more money on something with more power, more performance. From my point of view, you know, for that kind of price, you know, you can get a little bit more power. For me, I was expecting, you know, more performance out of this M4. And you know, overall for my test this week, I could say right now this car, it's a pretty good car, but you know, I would rather wait for the new version coming up probably next year with all the new technology, all the latest stuff on it, or this one who's actually the previous generation. Overall, you know, if I'm comparing this M4 with the M340i, you know, I'm comparing BMWs with BMWs because it's really where you see the big difference is the generation of the cars. The 72,000 for the M340i was a really good value for what you get. And here for 120,000, you know, I could say I would take the M340i way before paying 120 for the M4.